Greetings, residents. Welcome to our front porch chat here at lovely Carnwath Farms. Today we're filming from out here, one, because it's just beautiful weather to be out, and I encourage everyone to come on out and see our lovely park here and our other parks that we're in the process of slowly renovating and fixing them up. But I want to kick off today's meeting with kind of a new approach, is focusing on some of our history, some of our culture. During the last 2.5 years of my administration, we made a special push, myself, our town historian, and the town board, to focus on our arts, culture, and history. As you may recall, we established a special arts and culture committee, which has been very active, has taken a lot of initiatives working with us on Carnwath. We have now the chapel facility that's really up and running for events and programs. We actually have been holding other things like yoga classes, and also there's been a private summer camp out here. So we've been really looking at how do we better promote the tremendous history and culture of our town. And that is what we're going to try to share with you during the coming weeks and months in an alternate programming. 1 week I'll talk about town business, town board matters, what we're doing with your tax dollars, and the volunteerism that is active throughout the town. And then we'll talk about our hamlets and our history that's going through. With today's taping, we're looking at really a special program with respect to our hamlets. I'll come back to that in a minute, and our village of Wappinger Falls. And these programs will really look at the long history, proud history of the town, even before its incorporation in 1875. And this has been one steeped in a lot of heroism, innovation, and community pride. And that's very important as we move forward. We have, for those of you that may not be aware, we have 8 unincorporated hamlets in the town. And those consist of Chelsea, Houstonville, New Hackensack, Swartwotville, Myers Corners, Middlebush, Didell, and Fowler House hamlets. Some of those are still existent in a good way, in the sense of a strong presence. Others have disappeared a little bit from their original, such as Fowler House. We, of course, have Fowler House and South Fowler House, and there's new construction going on there relating to Tractor Supply. But we're looking at how to better establish identities for those communities within our larger community. Because I believe that as we are dealing with COVID, as we come out of COVID, what has been very clear is that those municipalities that have done well have been done well on the backbones of their community, the strength of our residents, such as you folks. And we've been able to do quite a good job. Yes, we still want to wear our masks when we can't distance ourselves socially, but other than that, we are building up our programs. And so today, when we look at our 8 hamlets, and then also our village, the village of Wappinger Falls, 3/4 of it's within the town, and we're very proud of that. Of course, we have separate legal municipal jurisdictions, but other than that, the 2 communities and are very much closely working together in the past months, and also going forward in the days, weeks, and months ahead. But from a historical point of view, we've been around for some time, and this town was actually predated the establishment of our incorporation, and we had the original settlement. It's just really down off of New Hamburg Road, and really, I guess, Joey, we'd call it the Wheeler Hill Historic District area. And that was an illegal settlement by the Dutch. The original settlers were forced to relocate, but that is actually the first settlement in Dutchess County. And we're very proud of that, and we're looking at ways to actually let people know more about it. We're looking at some commemorative planning related to that, and especially to honor our Wappinger native residents in the past. Starting around 1685, we see our history developing more when Francis Rambolt and Julian Verplanck purchased approximately 85,000 acres from the Wappinger native residents here. And that was really the beginnings of what was then ultimately known as the Fishkill Rambolt patent, but the Fishkill area, which included the towns of East Fishkill, towns of Fishkill and the village, and then Beacon was in there, Wappinger, town of Poughkeepsie, of course, ultimately Wappinger Falls, and parts of the Grange were included within that Rambolt patent. And then subsequently, over the years, the political subdivisions became more focused on what largely would be more manageable municipalities, especially during the days of horse-drawn carriages when they couldn't cover that whole territory in 1 or 2 days, in fact. So that Wappinger part of that is a very, very prosperous history when you look at all that's happened, which very few people have known about. So as a result of really the whole COVID pandemic, we are seeing a lot of people new to this area move into the town, which is really good news, because we're getting a lot of younger families that are coming in. They're going to also, we're seeing a lot more interest in promoting a community and activism in the sense of volunteerism, and that is very positive. But they're asking more about the history of the town. So that's why our town historian and myself have been really focusing on a broader vision going forward. There's also interesting tidbits of history. I won't go into those today, except for one. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Captain Kidd is reported to have come up the Hudson, probably around where the first settlement was, or the farmer's market, got off the boat and supposedly buried some treasure someplace in the jurisdiction of the town. Maybe it's even up at Carnwath, I don't know. But don't go digging. We think it's just purely a myth. Our town historian has not been able to confirm whether or not Captain Kidd actually did that. But that was somewhere within what we call the Houstonville hamlet. And that's what I would just want to spend the next few minutes on, is talking about the hamlet. This was, first settled around 1659, as I mentioned, by an illegal settlement, illegal being that the Dutch authorities had not approved the settlement. And then, the Massachusetts Bay Colony was really the offshoot from that. I mean, the people that came here were from the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And then, as I mentioned, we've had, the Verplanck, we've had Francis Rambolt, and then the Verplanck family around, 1750s, had established a port. We once had our own little port within the town. The village had their own separate port, but the town had it off of Old Troy Road. It's what we called Farmer's Market, and one of the few, I guess really the only remnant of that is the old stone house, which used to be also a boarding place, a bar, and was blown up, during, Yeah, hit by a cannonball. I mean, that part of the wall. And then they ultimately found the cannonball, not real long ago. It's a little one, right? It's not one of the huge ones that you would think of. But anyway, a lot of interesting history that formed also part of the Wheeler Hill Historic District along Old Troy Road and Wheeler Hill Road coming up here to Carnwath. So that part of Houstonville was the early history. We're digging into more of that. Of course, we keep finding within the town, and particularly this area, old Indian points, what some people called arrowheads, and other interesting, like rice milling, bowls carved out of stone. But then in the late 18th century, William Houston, who is one of 4 brothers, settled here, and his namesake is now Houstonville along 9D. And in fact, he was responsible for largely the commercial district. Some of the buildings which still stand, most famous or infamous, but I think it's a real asset to the town, is the pink nesting doll building that has been there since Mr. Houston set up shop in the village. By 1845, Houstonville already had its own post office. Well, I guess 1840s, right? Because the post office, as I recall, Joey, was 1847, something like that. Yeah, but the Presbyterian Church was there around 1840, as I recall. So, we had a number of buildings in what was then a bustling community based off of the trade that was coming out of the port, off the river, and ultimately up the old Hopewell Road, which was officially a turnpike at one point in time, which takes us into other hamlet stories, for a later point in time. But that downtown area had actually been a very bustling area of Houstonville, and unfortunately over the years it really, kind of fell apart. Another key element, and continues to be a key cornerstone for Houstonville and our historic district area, is Ober Creek Farms. And in a subsequent filming, we'll talk more about Ober Creek, maybe take a tour of it, and see the proud history. In fact, the owners of Ober Creek also had an interest here at Carnwath, at one time. Actually, much of the historic district. I know the house in which I have been living, also goes back to the Reese family and the extended family related to that. So, we're looking at now, what do we do to continue to promote and to get our people more interested and involved, and also to promote the local communities as communities within this town. We're not just the town of Wappinger. We have these really well-defined areas, and so that's what we'll be talking about in the coming weeks and month ahead. And as a result of that, I've had a vision, and actually others have had visions in the past, but what we're doing now is putting it more down to paper, and we'll be opening up for public discussion of how do we capture the historic overlay of these communities and making them thriving, but without losing the fundamental characters that have been established and our people come to love and to appreciate. So what we'll be doing over the coming weeks is talking more about a positive initiative to look at how we bring out more of the arts, culture, and history of our town. We're looking for volunteers. We'd love to have more people participate, whether it's residents that have been around for quite some time. We'd love to have you do it. Our town historian is continuing to build up archives with respect to the history of our hamlets and then of our greater town. So I welcome you to come and talk with us, to participate. The second part of the program today is we're going to take you on a little bit of a tour. We'll go down and talk a little bit about the historic district, and then the town historian, Joey Cavaccini, will also take you at a couple places within Houstonville to talk about that and share with you as the stepping off point for our next program. So I really appreciate your watching, listening, but more important, contributing to the arts and culture and history of our wonderful community. So thank you very much, and please have a lovely day and enjoy the weekend. Thank you. As a part of our ongoing series talking about the history, particularly today, Wheeler Hill Historic District in Houstonville, we're standing here in front of the Francis Reitz Cultural Center, and this is actually, as you can see, the home of the Sports Museum of Dutchess County. And we're very proud that this is a key tenant of our building, but also has been part of the foundation of our ongoing renovations and changes that are taking place here at Carnwath. And we're going to see just briefly the chapel, which we fixed up and is ready for all sorts of different programs which we've actually started, and community events. And so any of our residents that like to schedule something, rent out some space, it's more than readily available. And then over, right in front of me to my left is the old mansion building, which we're still trying to figure out how to handle it. That was built by Willis Reese and the Willis Reese family, which is, the Reese Cultural Center, Ober Creek. Lived there, I guess, for about 5 years, and then subsequently, sold this, and then they moved out of there and created Ober Creek, which we'll talk about briefly when we go over to the front entrance of the Wheeler Hill Historic District. Joey, would you like to make some comments, about, the Sports Museum, because you've been very much involved, you and your family, in getting it to where it is today?
Well, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. But I have to say, under this administration, we have been able to bring back not just the Sports Museum, but the Reese Cultural Center as a whole. Back to the community. It's been reopened this year and last year, but now this year, even with social distancing and other regulations like that, we have been able to now rent out different facilities on this property for the community to use. And that has included everything from yoga classes on this property to a summer camp happening here, and I just would like to thank you for that. Now with the Sports Museum, we've been located here in the Reese Cultural Center since 2005. Hillary Clinton was actually at the ribbon cutting and official dedication ceremony
and this
here.
Was during Joe Ruggiero's.
Yes, this was during former Supervisor Joe Ruggiero's administration. And the museum consistently operated here from 2005 to around 2016 due to an unfortunate water main break in the building. But since then, we were able to completely renovate and reopen the museum. Actually, we officially reopened it May of 2019, just last year, and we were open all last year, and we are once again open this year, 1 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. We've had a very good turnout as one of the few open to the public museums during this pandemic. But in this museum, you can see everything from Ty Cobb's bat to learning over about a dozen different athletes from Dutchess County who made it to the professional level. So thank you very much, Dick.
Thank you. We're standing in the main gallery of the Carnwath estate here in the Francis Reese Cultural Building. This is what we generically refer to as the chapel, which it was, and still some beautiful carvings like over the main entrance door. But we've renovated it. Still some more work to do in order to give a little bit of elbow grease to it. But it's, as you can see, set up for a variety of events. We have a drum set, we have the musical equipment, lighting, where we've already held a number of events, and we plan to do more. We think that this will make also a nice wedding venue, both with the outdoors for outdoor services or in inclement weather, can come inside. We are in the process of working on fixing up the really professional commercial kitchen, that's here, so that actually catering doesn't need to bring into the campus. The food can actually be cooked here. So this chapel building is, really along with the Reese Cultural Center, which is right next door, really the pride and joy of what our town historian and county legislator has been talking about. Joey, why don't you just share a little bit more about this building?
Thank you. All right, so this former chapel was originally built in 1950 by the order of the Brothers of Hermits. Eventually, the Reese Cultural Center, larger dormitory, was built in 1958. But ultimately, this is all part of the much greater Reese Cultural Center complex. Ultimately, what the town wants to do is exactly what Dick just said, rent this out. This would be the premier event space for the town of Wappinger, because we don't have one, right, Dick? We don't have anything at this moment. But again, we are moving in that direction. And this former sanctuary space, which was a religious chapel for well over 50 years, will be an ultimate destination. As you can see here, unfortunately, it's a bright, sunny day. I can't believe I'm just saying that, but because it's so bright and sunny, you can't see the lights that we have and the audio-visual effects that we have put into this building. The Friends of Carnwath has actually gotten everything here either donated or purchased, so no taxpayer dollars were even spent so far on this part of the renovation. And ultimately what we'd like to do is paint the walls, get new windows, new lighting treatments, and have this really be a true destination.
We recently restored, the roof, put in a new roof. Actually, we replaced missing slate tiles, put in a new capping, to keep the water from falling in, cleaned out the gutters, cut back the trees, so that this is now a weatherproof facility. So we look forward to more announcements about future programs and events. And again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we really would welcome anyone to help volunteer to making this even a greater venue within the town and for all of our residents to enjoy throughout the year, including possibility of even an indoor farmers market during the winter months. So please stay tuned and join with us during these nice days. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Wheeler Hill Historic District. As you can see, the entrance sign to this beautiful part of our town is indicating the entrance to our historically certified community, which is sitting here along the Hudson River. Going down to my left, this is New Hamburg Road. This takes you down to the train station, the New Hamburg station. But as you can see, we just came from Carnwath, which is listed here on the sign, Sports Museum at Dutchess County, and also we just drove past the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors. This is called Cosm, and that's also right over here to my right. But as you can see at this intersection with the Wheeler Hill Historic District, over here on my left, we have Over Creek Farms. Over Creek Farms is really the foundation cornerstone for this section of the town, and is an active organic farm, that's producing all sorts of vegetables, fruits, and also of a very strong organic nature. Right now they're promoting their tomatoes and plums. They have honey. So I encourage you to come down here, to Over Creek Farm. This is part of the Reese, family estate. They have some beautiful barn structure. They have a farm stand that's open for business right now as we talk on Thursday afternoon. So please come and visit this area of the town. And as I said, it's very close to the train station, very close to the Wappinger Creek that takes you up into the village. Before you get to the village, you will be at Reese Park, which is really one of our 14 amazing parks that we have through the town. So please come on by. Just going a little bit more to our east is Houstonville. I'm going to turn this program over to Joey Cavaccini for Houstonville. I need to go back to Town Hall to do some business, but thank you for watching this program, and especially for coming out and for helping us make this even a greater community going forward. So again, have a wonderful day, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Here we are standing in front of the 1840 original Houstonville Presbyterian Church. This hamlet is centered around many different buildings, including this church here in Houstonville. The hamlet itself is made up of many different businesses and homes. It's now mostly residential. But historically, at the height of the Victorian age and in the mid-19th century, was a huge bustling commercial hub, boasting a hotel, several taverns, grocery stores, and so much more. Today, the town of Wappinger truly envisions this hamlet as a downtown area, and we'd like to move forward in that direction. The supervisor and I have worked on plans to develop a beautiful sidewalk system that would interconnect the Houstonville hamlet to the village Wappingers Falls, Route 9, and the Middlebush hamlet as well. Ultimately, our residents that are coming here, as the supervisor said, we have a lot of new residents coming in, younger families. They want walkable downtown communities. So if we are able to stimulate the local Houstonville area with sidewalks, new businesses, maybe even a couple restored and new buildings, this could be a true destination center. Now, at the heart of Houstonville is the landmark Nesting Doll House, which is painted neon pink and yellow, and that has kind of become a focal point for the Houstonville hamlet. Let's go check that one out. So here in the heart of the Houstonville hamlet stands the historic 19th century now nesting doll house. The landmark structure actually was built in the mid-19th century by the Hasbrook family as a general store of sorts for the members of this community. As you can see, Houstonville is a still bustling center of activity for the town of Wappinger, mostly for automobile traffic now. But again, to reinforce the vision of the town, develop a true downtown area within this hamlet. We are also fortunate to have the Crossroads House, which was recently restored just a few years ago, as well as a actual cabinet shop right next door. And then, of course, the Houstonville Post Office, which is located in the Houstonville Mart, and a couple other buildings as well, door and window shop, an auto repair place, and actually the Ober Creek Farm Stand and Ober Creek Brewing Company. The Ober Creek Brewing Company is located just off of Marleville Road in the hamlet here. But the hamlet still has some businesses and could always, use a few more. And so we really would like to move forward in stimulating the actual hamlet itself. Just south of here, just east of here, we have the Houstonville Firehouse. The Houstonville Fire Company has been in the town of Wappinger since 1913. They were originally located in a couple different locations throughout the hamlet, one on the corner of Dean Avenue, and then one at their current location, which was the original site of the Houstonville Schoolhouse. That was built around 1870 or so. The schoolhouse itself stood at the present location of the present firehouse. That was actually after all the schoolhouses were shut down. The Houstonville Fire Company purchases the schoolhouse and moves into the old schoolhouse. It stood until there was an actual fire in the schoolhouse, and the fire truck that was inside the schoolhouse/firehouse fell through the floor and is still buried below the current firehouse today. Hopefully, and the core of our community too are our fire companies, and the Houstonville Fire Company stands up there and is a huge part of the Houstonville community today. So again, Houstonville Hamlet, very historical location. We could be standing, as the supervisor said, on the site of Captain Kidd's treasure. Who knows? But there's definitely a lot of history here, and we are looking forward to a bright future here in the Houstonville Hamlet. So here we're actually at the approximate location of the illegal 1659 settlement that happened here in the town of Wappinger. The town supervisor had kind of covered that earlier in the program, but in 1659, members of the Massachusetts Bay Colony fled the area in hopes to seek religious freedom. When they sailed up the Hudson River, they found here the mouth of the Wappinger Creek, a pristine location with no other settlement in sight. They settled here for about 3 months or so, we believe, until Dutch authorities realized that they were here and removed them from the location. We believe that this settlement took place at the mouth of the Wappinger Creek, as detailed through documents, which could mean anywhere from this exact spot here, right at the mouth, or up on the bluffs here along Wheeler Hill in Houstonville. It wasn't until 1714 that the first legal settlement took place in the town of Wappinger. That was Elias Van Bunschoten of Hackensack, New Jersey, who settled and founded the hamlet of New Hackensack in the northern part of the town. But right here along the Wappinger Creek, here along the area in Houstonville, has a huge amount of history of the founding of the actual town itself. So I hope that you enjoyed this special snapshot into history, as well as a look into the future with Supervisor Richard Thurston and myself. There really are so many different exciting projects in the works throughout the rest of the town, and just a great appreciation for the history that we have in the town as well. And I hope that you appreciated this video and get involved in some way in our community. This has been Joey Cavaccini, Wappinger Town Historian. See you soon.